Now we turn to retired General Wesley Clark. He's the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, and he has first-hand experience using power to force a dictator to negotiate. He did it in Kosovo 14 years ago. General Clark, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Christiane.
So world leaders seem to be far apart, at least the West and Russia. But the one thing they do want is some kind of negotiated settlement. Is this possible at this stage?
Well, I don't think it's possible at this stage because you have one side which is in power right now. He doesn't want to give up anything. He thinks he's winning.
Is he winning?
Well, it looks like militarily he's winning. It looks like he's getting away with it. And he's got his friends blocking the UN Security Council resolution that would put more pressure on, and China. And that would put more pressure on him. So if you really want to end the bloodshed over there, I guess there's two ways. You could just let him finish the job and he'll create another 2 or 3 million refugees. The violence will move in. It won't be settled because he's opened up a major sectarian conflict in the region, and it'll give Iran a bigger anchor. So it's a very short-sighted way to think you can stabilize a situation, as Vladimir Putin has said.
So you're saying
the other way is put the pressure on Assad.
So is pressure what President Obama has announced? Although he won't give details, and he keeps saying he won't give details, but people think it's small arms, ammunition. What do you think it is, and will it be the pressure that you're talking about?
I don't know what it'll be, but I think it's smart that he doesn't get pinned down on it, because the essence of this is when he first announces we're going to put the small arms in, he has now put a U.S. stake in the ground. So the ability to use the U.S. engagement as pressure depends on some ambiguity about it. If you carefully circumscribe what you can do, you're going to nullify its effectiveness, because the other side will just say, well, if they'll only give small arms, then we'll just put more artillery in. So, you don't want to circumscribe it so closely that you can't get diplomatic leverage. Assad should want to negotiate while he's winning right now, before the leverage has any impact on the battlefield. And so for the United States, it's about putting the leverage in now and then keeping the leverage going and torquing it up while the negotiations are on.
Walk us back to Kosovo. You led it. I was among the many who covered it. There was Milosevic. He was not coming to the bargaining table in any serious way. There was an air campaign. How did that happen? Because Russia was opposed then, too.
That's exactly right. And NATO had already laid out a plan of using graduated pressure against Milosevic. It started really in the summer of 1998. And so he adroitly maneuvered around this. At one point, Milosevic was saying, a village a day keeps NATO away. As a matter of fact, the Syrian rebels tell me that on the website, on the radio nets, they hear the Syrian military saying, don't kill more than 500 each day, because they know if they can put a cap on it each day, it reduces the chance of international involvement. Milosevic had the same logic, but he eventually crossed the red line. When he did, then we went into the last-ditch negotiations in Rambouillet, and he
refused. That was in France, I remember that.
He refused to participate. And at that point, then he started an ethnic cleansing campaign, and NATO followed through on its pledge. We said, if you do this, here's what's going to happen. We did it. But here's what we did that maybe he didn't understand. There were some people who thought, well, maybe NATO will just drop a couple of bombs. There were some people who thought, maybe, NATO will fall apart. Instead, NATO escalated day after day. More targets, more aircraft. First, there were only nighttime raids. Then there were daytime raids. First, there were raids only in Kosovo against military targets. Then it was against economic targets. Then it was in Serbia. Then it was against downtown Belgrade. We torqued it up, and we had a ground campaign being planned when he finally tossed in the chips and said, okay, that's it.
And not a U.S. boot on the ground. But in this case, General, people are very far from that. The United States does not want to go bombing. It doesn't want to put up a no-fly zone. And it's talking about small arms and ammunition. Is Assad able to prevail if the U.S. gets engaged on this level? Well,
I think if it's just down to the military, then you have to ask, why did the U.S. do this? I mean, is it just to say, okay, well, we're not so heartless. Go ahead. Here's some small arms. Defend yourself as you back out of the country. I don't think that's, I think there is a strategy behind this, and I think it will gradually unfold. You know, one of the things that helped us in Kosovo is we did it as part of NATO. So we had a formal NATO planning process, and our European allies asked all the typical tough questions, and the Pentagon, of course, said, no, no, we don't want to do this. Of course the Pentagon doesn't want to do it.
No, but now the Pentagon wants to be much more proactive in this one. They wanted to arm and train. So did the CIA, so did Hillary Clinton.
Because they saw what was going to happen. But what we had there was a roadmap that led all the way through to the final, we even had the sectors that various countries are going to occupy on the ground in Kosovo.
Afterwards?
Afterwards, yeah.
How did you get around the Russian roadblocks?
Well, the Russians simply pulled out. I had a Russian two-star working for me in my headquarters. He was pulled out. The Russians said, no, we won't cooperate. And then, they were actually trying to reinforce and counsel and encourage Milosevic to resist.
In Serbia.
Yeah. And so what actually happened was there were some threats. At one point there was a rumor that the Black Sea Fleet was going to come out and intervene, but Strobe Talbot, our Deputy Secretary, went back to Moscow and said, stop that stuff. You know, let's work this. And so we got a diplomatic initiative between Viktor Chernomyrdin and Marty Ahtisaari, the Finnish president, the Russian vice president, and brought them in to see Milosevic while we did the bombing.
General Clark, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.